the higher they grow as a leader, they talk less, they start talking less, they ask more questions, and they observe.
Hello, guys, welcome back to another special episode of the Thakkar show. Today we have Natalya Berdikyan. She is founder and CEO of Life by Design Academy and Frontline consulting and coaching firms that helps individuals and organizations to grow to their full potential. She is originally from Moscow but comes from the corporate and entrepreneurial world with over 20 years in international business development and management. It's an honor and pleasure to have you on the Jay Thakkar show, ma'am.
Thank you. The pleasure and honor is all mine.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So, ma'am, please tell us about your journey. Like as we discussed previously, that you said your journey began before the London School of Business. So, please tell us about how that journey began and how you and how you made one of the beautiful organization like Life by Design Academy.
Thank you for the question. Seems like it was a very long journey, and I feel like I've lived multiple lives. And like you rightly said, my journey began in Moscow and long time ago. And I went to United States when I was 16 as an exchange student in 1996. So you can do the rest of the math. And since then, having lived in 4 different American families, being the Russian kid or post-Soviet Union kid, going to 2 different high schools in 1 year was a big change for me. So I would say since then, my whole world became an oyster and no sky was the limit, as I could see how much one could experience and embrace, and that inspiration was tremendous from all the people I've met, from the people, the places, and just the discovery. Imagine being 16, going to a completely different part of the world. And since then, like I said, there is no limit. So I ended up living and studying in Amsterdam afterwards and went to the business school there. And ever since been going back to Russia for the past 20 plus years. So the journey of, I would say, discovery, it was always curiosity that drove me. I never had an ambition that I want to finish the best school, live in a particular state or a country, or build a particular business. It was all sort of organic, going into the flow, whether it was going into the business school or doing my MBA or moving from Holland back then to Spain and then to Belgium and now back to Spain. So I've been a little bit in different countries. So the journey has been very interesting and very exciting.
True. And like you said that for a 16-year-old to go to a different place and get that experience of knowing a completely different culture, to understand the people from different culture, the way they behave, the way they perceive things, different from the way we've been raised through our childhood. So what that experience, like if you can remember something which helped you for the longer run, for creating this bigger impact in your career, if you can share something from that.
Thank you for the question. Well, I think everything, because it was so different, everything was so different and so extreme. It wasn't just the language, clearly. And when I was met by my host family and my 5-year-old host sister started talking to me on the way back from the airport, I'm like, if I can understand her, I can understand everybody in this country, because she was murmuring the words and I wasn't all that fluent at all, far from that. So it was really like a drop into the unknown for me. And so I think the whole opportunity to adapt to different culture, different people, different foods, different custom, different routines, the schooling system, which is completely different from Russia, the way people live and interact and communicate. And then that was really good base for then living in Amsterdam, for example, where it's also a big melting pot and it's very international. And yet you have another language. Well, everybody speaks English, of course, which helped, but it's yet another culture. And then Belgium, very close to Holland, but a completely different culture there as well. They do speak also Dutch, but it's a very different Dutch and it's a very different culture, although they're like that close. So I think, and then managing a chocolate factory and having 20 different cultures within my team, all of it sort of came together when everybody's from different region and different blood and different, even if some people were born in Belgium, because again, it's a different melting pot as well in Brussels, very international. It's a different culture and everybody has their own customs and their own way they communicate and the way they work and the way they connect and relate to each other. So I would say all that previous experience sort of helped to navigate with that. If I would go back to Russia in its authoritarian management culture, it wouldn't have, that kind of culture wouldn't have worked in running a company in Belgium, for example. Things are changing now in terms of management leadership style. But that was definitely a very enriching experience.
That's fabulous. So, how these different experiences, meeting different people, understanding different cultures of corporates in different countries, because every country has their own small culture in their own corporate world. So, after understanding and getting exposure from these many countries with these many people, what struck in your mind to make Life by Design Academy?
Thank you for the question. I think all of it together, before I was living, well, as you understood, I living in 6 different countries. I moved 20 times in 20 years, 24 times, 24 years to be exact. And I I worked in very different industries, very different companies, more or less always around business development, sales, marketing, and then general management overall, which combined kind of everything. And the ability to understand different industries, different departments was a really great thing because it was never a particular industry that I had an interest in, but more the management of a business and problems overall. So combining all of that and going into where I went is the coaching and consulting, helping individuals and organizations live to their full potentials, grow their businesses to the best that it could be, crossing borders and boundaries, whether they're mental or geographical. I think all that experience sort of came together because there's so much that we're all handling every single day as individuals, as professionals, whether you're a manager or CEO, we're all handling a lot of stuff. And it's all very much interrelated in terms of personal and professional. We don't just shut off when we open the door to our office or now our living room, wherever that is we work, and forget everything that is happening back at home or in our private life. Everything is very much affecting. So this ability to help people navigate through that and use coaching as a tool to do that, I find fascinating and it's extremely fulfilling.
True, 100%. And like by being a leader, and by working in these many corporate cultures, I would say, what's your idea or what's your take on leadership, in general? How would you lead on a particular situation? Because nowadays what people are majorly focusing on getting a job, getting somewhere to work, although that's because COVID has let let many people off their jobs, and they're looking for jobs. But from your experience, I perceive that even if you are working for a corporate, you if you have the essence of leadership, you tend to get a lot more success in terms of efficiency of your work, and also in terms of career growth as well. So what's your take on that, and what's your idea on leadership?
Good question, and it can be looked at in different ways. So, first of all, for me, leadership starts with self leadership, and one can't lead others if one can't lead himself, herself, and it's already complex as it is,
Yeah,
right?
I was
Because
about to ask that if you can explain a little bit about self leadership.
certainly self leadership, gosh, it's everything starting from awareness where we are, how do we feel, how much energy we have, what is influencing our energy, what is influencing us in general. Um, what do we like, where are our talents and gifts, that awareness of what is in within us, who is the who. When I'm looking at me, who's the who, right? Who am I? And then followed with the why and the how and the what, the famous Simon Sinek thing. You know, we cannot know where we want to go if we don't know who we are to start. What is at the core that drives us? And so having the awareness of that, our value system, our beliefs, our vision, our purpose, our energy, all of that. So the awareness of self, and then you have the awareness on top of the others and the situation and etc. etc. So the awareness, the acceptance. Okay, so this is what I see in the mirror. Whether I like it or not, it is what it is. Now,
Sure.
accept it, and what do you want to improve? Do you want to be getting that goal that you have in the future? Who do you need to be? Do you need to have more skills? Do you need to have a different day routine? Do you need to apply for more jobs? I don't know, or practice different things. So the acceptance is important. And then we choose what is that we want to do with that. So now what? Here it is. Where am I going to go from here? So, and self-leadership is the ability to get ourselves up into that daily routine that works and serves us, that actually adds and improves our life in the future, knowing where it is that we want to go. And then on top of that, start with the whole leadership of others. But if you cannot lead yourself, your reactions, and we all have a challenge with that, we start to react instead of responding. But responsibility is responsibility, the ability to respond. Can we actually do that? You cannot do that without having the awareness, because it goes like this. Okay, so what just happened? Yeah, starts with understanding.
True. And like
Did I answer your question?
sorry.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, 100%. And like I have my idea on self awareness is because like I'm still exploring that field of understanding myself more properly, and I feel that documentation plays an important role in understanding our own selves. Like coming from a science background, I look myself like if I want to improve the improvement of myself in day to day level, to a weekly level, to a monthly level, to a yearly level, and to for decades, in terms of the length of goal I have for myself. If I want to improve that, I need to document my life, myself, my things, my work on that particular goal which I'm doing or investing in. Is because like if I document daily, I have the raw data to understand myself, that what mistakes I did in past. I have the experience in written format, and due to digital expansion, we can now have our own voice notes record, and then we can listen in our free time, whenever we want to see or go through the data which we have provided to our own selves to understand what mistakes we did. So like what's your take on this idea of documenting oneself in terms of writing journals, or maybe keeping your experience as video or audio record and then listening it in the later part?
Thank you for the question. Definitely, the world of digitalization sometimes is also taking over our life. I'm thinking maybe you can think and something is already going to record your thoughts. Now, speaking of journaling, it's definitely a very helpful tip and trick. It's structuring our thoughts. So daily journaling, especially for adding it to the morning routine after all sorts of sport, meditation, or whatever people choose to do. Maybe not coffee and reading news the first thing in the morning, just so you have a broader idea creation and alignment with yourself, not the external world, but first you need to align with yourself and then the outer world. But journaling definitely helps. And I must say that it's proven that writing, journaling, although I understand people are so used to typing or voice recording that they're not practicing writing on the paper anymore, but actually from the cognitive state, it's much more helpful. Because you really, when you put stuff on paper, especially also before you sleep, some people have trouble sleeping because they have so many ideas and so many thoughts or worries or anxieties or whatever. Putting it on paper definitely helps. It's like going swimming and you kind of take off everything and leave it in the water. Is the same thing. So journaling definitely, and you can see the patterns. If you journal, you can see the patterns. And then I have I change the journal every 2 months more or less, and I have all these journals. I can look back and say, okay, well, I was saying that then it's still the same. So something needs to change, right? Because you can recognize the pattern. And until you change your patterns and change your behaviors, you can then change the outcome. Because if you're doing the same thing, the outcome is pretty much the same. So
true. And also that also helps people to understand that they're actually growing, because like coming from a college student, I see my colleagues thinking that they're working very hard for their goals, but after a while, when things get monotonous, they start complaining that I don't think I'm growing, I don't think I'm growing. And if they do journaling, they can go through the records and they can understand that within 1 week I have grown a lot in terms of my skill set, and in terms of how I perceive my work. And if that I have the raw data, it can also do the work of motivating oneself from their own like self motivation. They don't need to rely on someone else to get motivated, or to understand that yes, they have been working hard, and they'll be getting results in a while.
certainly, what you said there is about, I come back to that self-acceptance and not judging. The judgment of self is so much affecting our energy, and that is affecting the access to our potential in the moment. So what happens is that if you judge yourself for good or bad, good enough, productive enough, if you're developing fast enough, that judgment that you're having in the moment, it's basically lowering your energy, your ability, your appreciation, your ability to use your real potential that you have within there without the judgment. And so this is very important to remember for all of you guys out there. If you try to catch yourself judging yourself, just pat yourself on the shoulder and say, I'm good enough. I'm doing the best I can in the moment, because you do. We're not doing something to fail in the moment, right? We're doing the best we can. And then the next time you just do something different and better. So you have that continuous improvement mindset. It's not the end of the world. There is no such thing as failure in such, because you learn every time. And if you ultimately after that mastery mindset, that continuous improvement mindset, you're gonna be set for success, whatever success means to you.
True, 100%. And I also feel perception plays a big role in self leadership and in leadership in general as well, because the way we see world is the way we understand it, I feel. And it's because if I see world that there are too many failures, there are too many obstacles, I tend to get scared. I tend to get feel low that am I capable enough to do? Am I capable enough to go through these struggles? Or is my goal even correct to me? Because many people, when they go to the bottom line of their work experience, they feel that I should leave it. But that's the time where they need to hold themselves, because the peak is gonna come after that. But if there's a good perception to them, if they understand that okay, these are hurdles, these are nothing but I would say checkpoints for me, where I will get that okay, this is the hurdle, this is the checkpoint which I'll clear, and then I won't be able. Then I'm capable enough, I'm skilled enough to at least not go below that level, and I can do and manipulate my work and skill set in such a way that I can gather more opportunity under my arms, and I can work on them to get to the next checkpoint, and nearer and nearer to the goal I have set for myself.
Certainly, if one sees hurdles, problems, one will say, well, I have problems. Is every problem or difficulty as an opportunity? It's like what you said, nothing else but a sign, kind of like a learning mechanism to tell you where you can improve, what you can focus on in the moment, or where something might be off. Kind of like an alarm system. Maybe this is not aligned with your value system or with your purpose, and it's telling you that maybe it's not the right thing to do. And coming back to your point earlier about thinking what you want to do, where to go, and the whole purpose thing. If you're aligned with yourself, with having that awareness and acceptance of who you are, not what the world is telling you. The society, the parents, the religion, the expectations that are built by everyone else, and the expectations we start imposing on ourselves, it's actually moving us away from the real who, the essence, the core of within here. And so having that checkup once in a while is very important. And so seeing everything as an opportunity and as a learning, even when it's difficult, as part of life, as an experience. And if you're not judging it for easy or hard, good or bad, again, the judgment about the external world and the situations, then it's also much lighter and much easier. It just is.
True.
So what do you choose to do about it?
True, 100%. Because I feel when we judge without experiencing it, is nothing but we are what would I say? We are closing doors to experience and learning. Is because, for example, one say that that crowd is very less, I won't go on, or there's crowd is too much, I don't know if anyone would listen to me. We judged the situation in snap, that okay, crowd is more, no one would listen to me, or I would make myself a joke on the stage, so that's why I won't go on the stage and speak. So there we blocked ourselves to the experience of going on the stage, standing and speaking to the public of XYZ numbers, let's say thousands and thousands of people. But while judgment, we just closed the door in just 1 second and said that there are too many people, I won't be able to speak.
It's what you said, I won't be able to speak. It's such an assumption and an interpretation of how you feel and what you see, that it's blocking you in the moment, and then the fear creeps in, this little gremlin on your shoulder saying, I'm not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. But what it doesn't do anything more than protecting you from failure. But if in the moment you say, well, thank you very much, but I got it, I know that I can do it. You talk to your little fear gremlin person that talks to your ear that you're not good enough, that you got it, thank you very much, and seeing it as an opportunity. And so what you said about the fear, false evidence appearing real, that's what fear stands for. false evidence appearing real. It's nothing more than us interpreting something, a situation, making up a story in our head, seeing things for what you think they are, not for what they are. That's why reality check is so important. What is the reality really? The reality is that there are 100 people. That's the reality, or 1,000 people, whatever that is. A fact without emotion. It's the emotion that we add to the judgment that makes us feel a certain way. So if you just not judge and see the facts, the reality for what they are without the emotion attached to it, is a completely different self-realization in the moment. Because the fear doesn't exist in the present moment. It's something we think is going to happen in the future, but 99.9% it never does. Unless the lion is at your face trying to eat you, then you can maybe experience fear and run. So you have the fleeing thing or the fighting thing. Otherwise, breathing helps. A reality check helps.
True, 100%. And like the in current world, I feel we are much more safer to explore the fears we have and understand that the kind of experiences it gives in is much more enlightening than just sitting behind and going through the normal stuff which our amygdala says to us that okay, this is safe, do this, this is safe, do this is fear, don't do this.
Well, what is safe? We get comfortable in the discomfort. Is that safe? If we get comfortable with the discomfort, and that's what helped me throughout the life. When I got so uncomfortable moving from post-Soviet Union to California, from Moscow to California, from minus 25 to whatever, plus 25 around the whole year round in Celsius, we talk about, from a small apartment to a big suburb house, you know, from not sharing anything to having kids in my house, for example, to going to completely different school, to, I can sure tell you, because I was in a different zone, it was different. It was uncomfortable in a way. I didn't understand what the people were saying and how to understand them from the cultural standpoint. But expanding your comfort zone, everybody says, you know, expanding your comfort zone, it makes a lot of sense because things that are just outside of your box are no longer troubling you as much. And, you know, moving 24 times in 24 years, every time I change something, whether it's a location, whether it's a place, whether it's my everything, you start shifting and your ability to adopt becomes so huge that these little changes don't bother you any much anymore. And so that's what makes a person more resilient and agile. Because look at change. The only thing constant is change. I mean, that's a fact. You cannot walk into the same water twice because, you know, the current takes the water. So if change is the only thing that's constant, whether it's COVID and the whole virtual world, it's not going to be the same as before. So we can just get used to it and move on. And as long as we're holding on to the past, that comfort zone, and we're resisting so much, that's what makes us be in pain in the moment. Because if you let go and just surrender to the flow of life and welcome the experience as is, and be within your potential without that fear and all that stuff and all the luggage, you know, all the limiting beliefs and stuff, life doesn't have to be so difficult. It just is. You can experience it differently.
100%. And I feel that holding back to the past is something which will keep you aside from the wisdom which is there in the world, which world has for you. Because when we are there in the comfort zone for so long and we tend to be in that zone, in that box, it's actually not good for mental health as well. Like we saw that example in COVID. Everyone was there at their home for about more than 12 to 18 months. everyone was there in that same four walls, almost doing same thing constantly for 12 to 18 months. And we all came to understand that being in the same box, let it be a physical box or a mental box, it is not good for the mental health, because a human has a tendency to get more and more wiser as time passes, and to get more wiser, to understand 360 degree of what life provides you. We have to go and explore, we have to go and open the window to see what's there out, to understand that how world and surrounding and everything is working, and then we can select something where we are curious to know the technicalities of, to build the career and build life and money out of it. But then as a life, I feel that humans uh, tend to go and get more wiser by the time. And if you be in that comfort zone, even your brain and your body um, will get drained off, and then you'll have the mental health problems like, I'm not doing well, I'm just constant, I am not growing, this and that, and all of the stuff. Yeah, true.
Definitely, definitely. Well, it's like a tree. We either grow or we die. It's evolution. So yeah, and I think you keep saying about the external world and the wisdom externally, but I also want to point out that we have a lot of internal wisdom, and so it helps a lot sometimes to quiet the external world and tap into that wisdom we have within to really understand and know and feel what is good for you, not because someone else is doing it or someone else is expecting that, or because you can, that's why you have to apply for that job and you have to work in that company because this is what others would do, and because you're capable. It doesn't mean that you're capable, that this is your thing. And that's how a lot of people waste a lot of years and energy, well, time and energy, doing something they're actually not passionate about. And that's very important. Connect to that purpose, to that values, to the passion that you have, rather than living someone else's life. It's best to be the best of you than a mediocre of someone, a copy of someone else. So
True. Yeah, and I feel that like when we talk about internal wisdom is majorly about we monitoring the process of how are we perceiving the world. I feel is like world is giving us XYZ inputs constantly through our biological sensory organs, what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we touch, what we feel. But when we go internal, when we try and understand our own selves, that is nothing but how are we processing these stimuli which world is giving us. Like for example, if there's a noise outside the house, and outside people are telling that, "Oh, there's a storm coming, close the windows." But it's for, if you're understanding that how am I processing this information, you would open the window and at least see, is it an actual storm coming, or it's just a vehicle passing by. when we
definitely.
when we understand the process of how are we perceiving the worlds, am I getting too obsessed with the expectation of people, am I understanding what my exact curiosity is, do I actually like exploring this thing, or am I just exploring it because there's pressure from society, there's pressure from parents. So this is how I feel that when we talk about internal wisdom, it is majorly about monitoring what exactly are we processing the inputs of world.
Yeah, having this checkup with yourself, checking in with yourself. What do you really feel and think? And if this is how you think, are those the limiting beliefs brought in by society and everyone else? Are they actually serving you or are they limiting you? And so having that checkup is very important.
True, 100%. And now going to the like, after understanding what's exactly self leadership, now moving on to the leadership of leading the whole world, leading bunch of people around, getting them motivated, getting them excited for the work, and making them happy by doing the work which they are assigned to. How's that? What's the essence of that leadership which majorly world wants in from people?
Right. There's so much stuff written and talked on leadership, and I won't repeat all of that. But what I've said about understanding self, that self awareness and self acceptance, the same applies to the people that you work with. So you see the people, anyone you talk to, seeing and hearing. And it's not just about assigning the job, but are you aware of what these people are going through? What is their belief system, their values, their vision, their mission, their energy? What is influencing their energy? You know, a lot of people come to me and say, well, Natalia, I need help. My sales department is not performing. We need to bring in some sales techniques and, you know, motivate them a little bit and stuff. I'm like, okay, great. Do you actually know what's happening with every single individual? Like, no, I'm paying them to do their job. That's it. But we all know that we are all human. We are in the human business. We are human beings, not human doings. So like I said earlier, whatever you have happening at home, in your family, in the marriage, or in your health, in your environment, is affecting the way you perform. Right? So it can be either related to values and purpose and beliefs, can be related to sitting in the working environment and not having the most optimal environment, or the task is too difficult or too boring, or there are many things you can find on my website, the energy influences that actually influence our energy, our engagement, our motivation, and therefore our performance. So having the awareness of the people that you're working with, that you're leading, same kind of awareness you have for yourself, but for the others, that really helps a lot, because it all starts with the awareness. And the same thing with acceptance. Okay, you now know what's happening. You accept the person for who he is, without the judgment that he might, to your thinking, be stupid, and that you would have done it differently. Great. Well, now there's a lot of judgment involved, and judgment actually lowers, it takes a lot of energy, it's quite draining, and it lowers your ability to communicate and relate and see where could be a winning and learning opportunities for both. And then you see exactly where is the opportunity, how can you create something together as a team that is inspiring, that is creative, whereby you use the talents of each other and the passions of each other and the gifts of each other. Not because this is the job description and that I pay this person to do X, but because this person is using his top potential and is outperforming while doing exactly that. And so figuring out how to get people in that flow, and by the flow, I mean where they have the access to their full potential and to their genius, to their inner wisdom in the moment, because in that moment they perform 100% more, they are 100% more engaged, and they're present in the moment. And so not only they enjoy what they do, but they actually have a really great environment, because energy affects like energy, and the atmosphere within the team, and therefore the results are greater. So as a leader, probably want to be in that space.
True, 100%. And I feel communication skills are that's why I said that a leader should have a good communication skill, because for one to understand what is going in other person's mind, the only way to get that information is through communication, to make that person feel comfortable that yes, we are having a good communication. I am interested in knowing what's there in your head. How do you see the world? How do you see this work? How do you see this project? And I also want to know what's your skill set, what's your future plan, and all these information which you mentioned. And then collectively understand that, okay, this is the reality of this person and I need to accept, and then on basis of my acceptance I need to uh, help them in going to their full potential so that they can be benefited in their career, let it be in terms of skill set, let it be in terms of opportunities, or let it be in terms of their work output. But I think that's what a leader majorly does. That leader is not just leading you to get this work done or get this project done. A leader is there to help you understand different aspects of the same project so that you can learn a lot from it and can use that learning to grow in your career and in your life in general.
Certainly, the communication is a very big aspect, and using coaching skills to communicate, and by that I means asking a lot of open questions instead of telling, asking. And then people say, the higher they grow as a leader, they talk less, they start talking less, they ask more questions, and they observe. They observe and they direct the people into the direction that is enhancing their potential and their performance and their output. And so, as everybody says, the good leader is the one that, you've done it and you wouldn't think that you had someone helping you. So it's like that invisible hand, so to speak, to lead you to those heights, to those summits.
True.
But it's not the one that like, you have to do this and this is how you need to do it. We all got the potential and wisdom. So,
True.
Empowering people to use that, that's that leadership.
Yeah, leader should be that key to the inner wisdom, or the path provider to that inner wisdom which you already have in yourself. It's just unexplored, where leader is helping you to explore.
Certainly. So if a leader can be a coach as well as the mentor, as well as employer, that's great. And I think that skill is so valuable for both sides. So otherwise they're external coaches for that. And if I would have known that coaching is such a big thing in Europe, it wasn't a big thing in comparison to US. I think my career would have rocketed much faster because it's such a great support. And not all the leaders I had were good coaches in that sense, authoritarian culture and all.
True. So from this leadership, after you led these many people, um, how do you as a leader find the next generation of leader? That, okay, I'm leading at this position, but at one point I have to leave this position, maybe go on a higher position, or maybe go to a different company, or maybe go to a different field of work. So how do I identify who is potential, who has that potential to come at my place and lead the people I'm leading currently? How do you see that?
Succession planning is a big topic, and it's for many, I feel like it's very difficult to leave. They're holding on to their job or to their function and not having that trust that someone can do the same job equally well, because, well, they're not me, right? Impossible. But as we talked about before, if you're a leader, you have the ability to let go and to have someone, shine their light on their work. So finding the people that are aligned with your vision and with your values, the mission, vision, values, is so important. And so if people are resonating, well, point one, as a leader, you're able to communicate well. So you can communicate your vision, mission, and values, right, of the company and of the project, etc. So with that, finding the person that is aligned with that have a similar passion towards it, that has the belief, is very important. So it's sort of then aligned and moves in the same path. And then passing on all the necessary tools and skills, because at the end of the day, attitude is like 80% of success. We can learn the skills, but if we don't have the right attitude, and if the values are not aligned, someone is just going to take the whole thing to a completely different direction.
True.
Which might be good as long as you agree with that.
True, 100%. And um it's like you have developed something of your own. You have increased the level of working. You have increased the level, more than level, the quality of working in that team. And now when you are there to pick someone who would come at your place, and you would only want the quality and the functioning level to increase, from the level you are leaving it, is only when you have at least aligned goals and vision to a particular project or the particular position you are giving to the other person. And it's also more relative to, when we say that the kind of child the parents want to raise, is because the child should only be the person of much more better quality than the parent themselves. That's the general notion how children are raised. And similarly, when we are thinking that, okay, this person is coming to my position, is that person capable enough to raise the level, or the quality level which I have or which I provide in the team, at this current position.
Trust.
Hmm.
Knowing, having the awareness of what that person is. We're going back to the awareness, the values, the mission, everything, the alignment. And then having the plan. If you don't have a plan, any road will take you there.
True, 100%. So, coming to the end of this podcast, like, what would be your three to five major advices for youths in general uh, to make their to make their impression in this world as great leaders, entrepreneurs?
3 to 5. 5 is already a lot. I would say start with awareness of who you really are and all of that stuff that we discussed earlier. The acceptance of self, the self-respect and the self-love. And that's where the confidence comes from. That fear stuff, takes off. Have the conscious choice, because you can always choose and choose for you. You're the first priority. You are your first priority, and then choose your second and the third. And then have the trust in the process, trust in yourself and the process, and let go of the struggle, let go of the fear, because the struggle is the one that makes it so difficult for us, energetically speaking, our potential and all of that. Surrender in the moment and trust the process, that you got it, that you made a plan, that you're going to follow the plan. And in case you need to change the plan, you can amend the plan, because you will have the wisdom and you'll have the experience to do that. So as a start, and then applying the same for the outer world, awareness of the other people, awareness of the situation, what the reality really is, without those perceptions. It's like going on an air balloon. The higher you go, the higher you raise with your consciousness and your awareness, etc. The further you see, the better you can make your decisions. And check in with yourself. How does that feel? Because so many people, so many leaders, so many great CEOs are going in motions, and they're exhausting themselves and others and becoming more and more disconnected by just checking in the boxes and KPIs, judging and evaluating themselves by performance, by KPIs, rather than thinking, where can I go? How can I improve? what is the best thing we can do in the future. And that is a completely different energy than just judgment of performance.
True, 100%. So, how was this whole podcast for you? Like, what are your advices for me personally?
It's good. I love how you ask questions. I think it's all good. Really great pace, very good content. Well done. Well done. Just maybe think about the technology or people. So, in case there is noise, you could just block it out and continue whatever you feel comfortable with. But you did great. It's good. I really like it. It's a good pace. Well done.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I surely take that point in. Like, this is my first podcast in hostel. So, like, I just moved into to the place where my university is after this lockdown. So it's like my first exposure to this online podcast in a different city, in a different place. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no, it's
surely
good. I like the background. Looks good. Looks professional. So it's good.
thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming on the show and blessing us with your wisdom of understanding oneself, wisdom of being self-aware, to accept the reality, and then to understand and trust the process which we've went for. So thank you so much for joining in the
You're
show.
very welcome. You got it. And I'm here to support anyone with anything they require.
Sure, ma'am. So all ma'am's link will be there in the description. Do check them out and show your love to ma'am and the whole world.
Thank you. Go do great stuff.
Thank you so much.
Trust yourself.